The second possibility would be coaching. Try to change their behavior, try to improve their behavior. You know, billions of dollars are spent every year here in the U.S. Trying to train and change the behavior of terrorists. It's a big waste of money, I think. But so let's think about how training might work. So let's see. Let's use. Who are we going to use here? So Fernando, you're going to be my terrorist. Are you okay with that?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now, how do I know Fernando is a terrorist? Because Carlos came to me just yesterday and said, you got to do something about Fernando. I can't work with that guy. And Ricardo did the same thing. He said, hey, it's me or Fernando. You gotta get rid of, you gotta do something about Fernando. Can't work with him. All right. So I decided I better address this issue, this terrorist issue with Fernando. So I've invited Fernando to come to my office this afternoon. We're gonna have a fierce conversation. Okay. Now let's think about this for a moment. Did Fernando just become a terrorist just now? Did he just become a terrorist?
I don't think so.
No. He's been a terrorist ever since he was 4, 5, right?
Yeah.
People don't become terrorists, they are terrorists. I want you to think about that. People don't become terrorists overnight, they are terrorists. So in this case, Fernando's been a terrorist since the age of 4, the age of 3. So this is not his first visit to the supervisor's office. That happened in pre-K, and then again in kindergarten, and then again in first grade, second grade. You know how this plays out. He's a terrorist. He's always been a terrorist. So in that regard, Fernando is looking forward to our meeting this afternoon. I'm dreading this meeting. He's looking forward to it because he sees this as sport. He enjoys these fierce conversation meetings because he's had them his whole life. He sees this as sport. He's excited about this meeting this afternoon. Okay. So Fernando comes to my office, shows up right on time. I welcome him in. Hey, Fernando, glad you could come see me this afternoon. Hey, by the way, great job on the Anderson account last week. You closed that account. That was a big deal. Thank you for all your effort on that. Nicely done. The reason I've invited you to my office this afternoon, and we've talked about this in the past, is some of your colleagues, some of your teammates have expressed their frustration in working with you. They find it difficult to work with you and around you. And what I'd like to do today, Fernando, is ask if you would consider, I'd like to invite you over the next 30 days to be a better teammate, to be a better employee, to be a little easier to work with. Would you be willing to consider that over the next 30 days?
I would say yes.
Great. I was hoping you would say that over the next 30 days, just be more mindful of your interaction with the team, with your the rest of the people here in the office, and keep up the good work. You and I'll get back together in a month and we'll see how things are going. I don't want to use any more of your time. I know how busy you are. So we shake hands, we part ways. Fernando goes back to his office. I'm patting myself on the back. I'm thinking, that went pretty well. He agreed to change his behavior. That went pretty well. Well, if you think of the Welch grid, today, Fernando was a terrorist, right? He was a terrorist, right? What do you think happens over the next 30 days relative to the Welch grid? What do you think happens to Fernando?
We'll move to that corner.
Well, I would hope, and it's certainly possible, that he will change his behavior, and within 30 days, he's a superstar. That's possible. And how do I know that? Because Carlos comes to me after a week and says, wow, I don't know what you said to Fernando, but he seems like a different guy. He's a better guy. And Ricardo comes to me a week later and says, hey, I just had lunch with Fernando. He's like a different person. Thank you. Thank you. Again, I'm patting myself on the back. I'm thinking this whole leadership, this whole coaching, easier than I thought. Easier than I thought. And then another month passes. Another month passes. And what do you think happens to Fernando after another 30 days?
The terrorist again.
Back to square one.
He goes back to being a terrorist.
Poor Carlos.
He has to. And here's why. A terrorist is a terrorist is a terrorist. Once a terrorist, always a terrorist. Highly unlikely that he's going to be able to make a permanent change in his behavior. Why? Because he's human. And as human beings, we aren't very good at permanent changes in behavior. In fact, the science suggests to us that only 5% of the human population is capable of a significant change in behavior. Less than 5%. And it's usually triggered by a significant life event, like a death, a divorce, something like that, that causes me to think, wow, I've been a terrorist my whole life. Maybe I should get better.